Chapter 8. About Soul. The beauty of a pure soul as a living conscious diamond of consciousness, shining with all colors, which the God of eternity created for self-knowledge of himself in his new image, I met twice. When I peered in a memory and was a space of consciousness of white light, and from myself I wove streams of multicolored consciousness into a precious diamond of a living soul. The second time I saw this beauty of creation in a boy of 7 years. When I saw his soul, it was in the form of a human, but with a translucent purple body like a liquid or a liquid crystal. From the center of the chakras, multicolored rays of light poured out all over his body, creating the impression of a liquid living diamond. Thereby, she fully corresponded to the standard of the original created pure soul. The rest of the souls that I saw many times were gray with a dull glow from within. From this, I can say what the recommendation to people can be like this. Many teach you to be as clean as children. This is about the fact that after living life, you have to try very hard to maintain the reference purity of your soul, so that its luminosity and multicoloring will be multiplied by awareness in its manifestations, its consciousness, transforming itself, the soul, to life in the higher realities of its eternity. The soul is the grain of the future living tree of the individual universe, created from the personal, the accumulation of his living consciousness, and is seen by his consciousness as space in size into the future universe, on which you can fly, communicating with your living thoughts, angels, which, as teachers, help your soul develop into a beautiful tree of a living individual universe. You can contemplate the karmic films of the past, creating a guide for the future, and all this personal space of the soul, the size of the future universe, is waiting, like a website on your computer, for your feeling, which will consist of the knowledge of countless experiences in your incarnations, and eventually transform your soul into a future individual living universe where you will be the creator, the God of your individual universe. If you ask why everything is said here about the transformation of consciousness and not about energies, then you can ask you, have you ever seen an energy that would not stand out from a living spiritual multidimensional consciousness consisting of first spirits, first letters, in its three densities of consciousness, from the first density of consciousness of the Creator, God of the eternity, to the third density of consciousness of the atomic molecular universe? All energies are waves produced by the first spirits, first letters of the three dimensions of a single consciousness, and are the creation of a three-dimensional living spiritual consciousness. If we do nothing with ourselves, we let our soul into the river of life, surrendering to the stream of general consciousness that affects us. Thereby, we do not notice how the pressure of the planetary consciousness and the conclusions associated with it extinguishes the luminosity of our soul, making from the miracle of a living diamond of consciousness and a living seed of the future universe what we are in our souls, and uncouth, dull gray diamond of a spiritual inmate which fades with the grayness of our lack of freedom, gradually transforming into the animal image of a half-demon, which is being cleansed in his first purgatory. This purgatory is the bodies of animals in which we are placed as inmates for conscious cleansing. If the soul in the next incarnation after the animal incarnation again doesn't work on itself, the next purgatory will be the middle hells, where they will still try to save her to life. But if she has already completely transformed her living consciousness into the image of a terrible demon or demon, then she falls into the reality of the lower hell, corresponding to her complete transformation of consciousness and image, respectively. From there, it still brings some benefit in the spiritual teaching of souls in its higher realities, by testing spiritual seekers for the strength of the spirit, frightening them, fight with them in various spiritual circumstances, settling into a symbiosis in the physical body, so acting as a teacher for spiritual practitioners. Those souls that do not practice spiritual practices, these demons simply cunningly torment, create a spiritual symbiosis by settling in a person's body, invisibly calling for themselves, helping to transform a person's soul into their own likeness and bringing it to the peak of a mentally imprisoned half-demon. They leave it switching to another, and already this semi-demon will do the rest of the work of transforming the divine soul into a demon himself. So the inhabitants of the lower hell multiply, into which they sometimes come to dissolve their demons, doing the work of cleaning the spiritual sewerage, the soul of a pure reference level, and hence the divine, harmonizing its universe of living spiritual consciousness. In the same way, only by the opposite transformation, the inhabitants of the higher dimensions of reality, the heavenly worlds, are multiplying, where angels and gods of future universes are born. Knowing this, choose who, in this multidimensional universe of living consciousness, you want to become.